Carl.
I see everyone except for Wade.
Correct.
Julie, would you sit for Wade, please?
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the October 8th meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Julie Wayne Scott make a motion to approve the,
Is there a second?
Dave Lurch, second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 3, application review.
We don't have any applications under review right now, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Number 4, new applications, none.
We have not received any new applications.
Item number 5, violations.
I'm not currently working on any active violations.
Okay. Item number 6, other business, C20-14, 14B Shore Road. Request to increase paved width of the driveway and to modify the culvert crossing with longer pipe. Killingly Engineering Associates agent.
Do we have someone present for the applicant, the permit holder, to discuss the changes here? Ian,
Maureen, I can barely hear you.
are you here to discuss this modification request?
I am. I can hear you fine, Maureen. For the record, Ian Cole, professional soil scientist, professional registered wetland scientist. I worked with Killingly Engineering Associates on the original application for this project. I discussed the project changes with Mr. Norman Tebow of Killingly Engineering Associates. He could not come tonight, so he asked that I come on his behalf. The modifications to the approved project, Mr. Mortimer is looking to get permission to change the original design, which called out for the driveway to have a 12-foot wide paved surface with 2-foot shoulders. The modification now before the commission is for a paved 15-foot wide surface of that access. The result of this will not result in any additional disturbance along the length of the driveway. If you remember correctly, there is a 20-foot wide easement to accommodate the driveway. During the original application, we had assumed the full use of that 20-foot wide width. This change falls within that same existing footprint. So again, in lieu of the 12-foot paved driveway with the 2-foot shoulders, the new driveway will be 15 feet surface without the benefit of those load-bearing shoulders. They're quite frankly not needed. The topography is very flat. Right now, the driveway sits approximately 6 inches from the adjacent topography. Then the second ask modification, in discussions with B&L Construction for the third driveway crossing, which is the driveway crossing that's closest to the residence. The original application had called for replacement of the existing pipe that's there. At that time, we were asking for a 24-foot long concrete pipe with head walls. In discussions with the engineer and the foreman at B&L, the discussion was, while he was in agreement that we'd have a permanent disturbance of 275 square feet to install those head walls, he said that the over excavation required for the footings and the ultimate dewatering during construction would be a much larger temporary disturbance. The suggestion that came up was to take that 24-inch pipe and in lieu of the head wall, extend that to 40 feet backfill accordingly, that would result in a net increase of 300 square feet of disturbance. If you remember, the original application called for a total disturbance of 2,775 square feet. To mitigate that disturbance, we had proposed building a 3,000 square foot created wetland so that we still had a 300, we still had some buffer there where it was a 1-to-1 ratio. So I guess the story of the matter here is this modification to that crossing will still have a no net loss of wetlands on the site. We still kind of balance that sheet out to a 1-to-1 ratio. Mr. Norman said that the additional 15-foot, the additional 3 feet of pavement to the driveway will not result in any measurable increase in stormwater runoff rate to the receiving wetlands. And I think the other important factor to remember here is, these changes, this modification to the third crossing is within the existing footprint of an area that's all been pre-disturbed. We're still in development of creating that wetland. They've finished the final grading and all the topsoil has been laid, and we're in the process now over the weekend of securing all the plant material. So this is an active construction site where all of these activities would be occurring. They're all within the active construction footprint. So those are the two asks kind of in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, this is Dave Lurch. I have some questions, if I may.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, I don't know what presumption that somebody had that they could use a full 20 feet because this was discussed. I mean, we evaluated the flows and with your team and also. This is the first time I've heard that there was a presumption that all 20 feet could be used, even though there is 20 feet available there property, but that's besides the point. So what I didn't remember though was that there was a 2 foot slope on, is it either side or was it a 1 foot slope on each side?
Each side had a 2 foot shoulder.
Okay, each side had a 2 foot shoulder. And then, and that was on the approval that we gave to you before, right?
Correct.
Okay, so really then you're reducing that overall footprint by a foot. If it was, right, because wasn't it a 12-foot wide, 12-foot wide road with 2 feet on either side? That's 16 feet. So you're bringing it back actually to 15 feet now. True.
What is increased is not the physical disturbance. What's increased is the impervious surface.
Gotcha.
That's really what's increased here.
But well, those slopes, they were going to be some kind of compacted material, which probably wouldn't have had much pervious ability anyway, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And all of the surrounding soils are extremely and excessively well drained. It's a lot of sand, as one would expect, being right along the shoreline.
I walked that property a couple of times, so I've got a mental picture of it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as this pipe extension, what's the purpose of that?
The purpose of the pipe extension is to physically get beyond the limits of grading and associated disturbance, and also to match the grades there. And I think it also is partly, and I would have to confirm this with the construction crew, what's available for materials. But that I'm not 100% on. That was a discussion between the contractor and the engineer to size that pipe accordingly.
Do you think?
I'm sorry. I was simply asked, is that going to have any adverse impact to the wetlands? And my take on it was, it's all pre-disturbed and is in one shape or another being kind of in a restorative kind of phase.
So it doesn't have any adverse effects, but does it have any positive effects? Or are we just really talking about a neutral environment?
It's negligible anyway from an ecological standpoint, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cole. I don't have any more questions, sir.
Questions or comments? Maureen, you'll have to issue a modification to the permit.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things in front of the commission here. One, they're basically, you have to modify to increase the amount of wetland disturbance by 300 square feet. Mr. Cole has noted that the original and under construction mitigation actually accommodates that increase in wetland disturbance. So you'll still have a one-to-one replacement. I had asked the engineer to submit a cross-section diagram of what this thing's supposed to look like. I don't have anything. I don't know what I'm approving.
My understanding was that, and obviously you don't have it, Maureen, that Norm had sent over a revision of that. I could follow up with him and ask him what the status of that is, but he did send me revised plans, so that's only the reason. But there's no cross section in the revised plans, so that is.
It's not so much the cross section, the driveway in. It's really going from, we had on the approved plans, there was a schematic of the pipe, the head wall and the wing walls.
Yep.
So I've asked him to please do a comparison so the commission can see what is being filled. How is the wetland that's being filled? Is it just the backfill over the pipe that's already in the existing man-made channel?
Yes, it is the latter, but you need the you need the diagram for the record for sure.
If the commission feels favorable, we can certainly instruct staff to draft something up. Providing we get the sketch so that the commission can see what it is to approve.
My understanding is that is created, and apologies if it was an oversight on Killingley Engineering Associates, but they could certainly follow up in the morning with you.
I think to make the request complete, you need that information, because that's got to go on the record with the original plan. Am I not correct, Maureen?
It's the commission's decision. I mean, I don't know what this looks like.
Maureen, I'm sorry, I can't make out much of what you're saying at all.
I don't know what this looks like. It's the commission's decision. You can modify based on the description and the testimony from the wetland scientist. I just would like to, before I stamp a permit, have something in front of me. So that could be a condition of your approval as well. Did you hear me?
I can't. Tally, can you hear Maureen clearly?
Yes. For condition of approval, she needs something to stamp. And we don't have that information.
Procedurally, I can't make out much of anything. I don't know what the problem is. I would relinquish the chair to Mr. Medelis.
Okay, Rich, I can hear you fine, but I don't know about the rest of the commission, but I think we need that information so that it's a complete record of the application of what we've approved, so that it's written. That's my opinion. What's the opinion of the other commission members?
Tolly, I would agree with you that I would like to see the cross-sectional drawings of this new proposed pipe crossing as well before we go to even think about going to draft.
I agree. This is Jessica.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, Michael Stankoff, to table this topic for discussion until the next meeting, such that the Killingley Engineering Associates can get us the cross-sectional information about the pipe, as well as the limits of wetland clearing on the appropriate documents.
I'll entertain a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Julie.
Was Janine,
Discussion? All those in favor, seeing that there's no discussion, all those in favor signify, oh, Jessica. I see Jessica's hand.
Oh, no, I was sorry. I was agreeing.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good night. I'll follow up with Maureen in the morning with Killingly Engineering.
Thank you,
Next
Mr.
site.
Chair.
Have a good night.
Good night. Next item on the agenda is a review of the draft budget for fiscal year 21-22. Maureen, would you like to make some comments?
yep, just give me a sec. Katrina's gonna bring it up.
Dave, I just had Dave Reagan try and get in. I just let him in, but you know.
So it's that time of year again. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. With the with the increase in infection rate, I got Katrina right here. I'm not gonna take my mask off. She's a good worker, my friend, and we're gonna stay masked, okay? So if you can't hear me, you just have to let us know.
I can hear you fine. I
Okay.
don't know about everybody else.
I'm good.
So the draft budget, I put it into last year's format, and it's really the annual report, isn't that the draft budget? Okay. To last year's format, we may change the format. But the motion I really need in the discussion from the commission for this evening is whether basically we're proposing for, on behalf of the commission, to keep all the line items and the request for funding the same as last year and the year before.
I just have one question, Maureen. How much have we spent year to date?
It should be on the last page, page 7. Is it not? No. Yeah. Oh, no, she didn't put it in yet. Wasn't she gonna do that?
I thought she was going to do that.
Oh.
I can tell you that we spent, and again, this is just my rough calculations. So you wanna go through line by line?
No, I just want the overall percentage.
I think it's important, if you go, at least from what I had, Anna, our office coordinator, was gonna put this stuff together. She's doing it for all the other boards and commissions too, and this just came out very quickly on the beginning of this week, so. So if you go to page 2, where the line item is, the request. Everyone has that? Or just bring that up? Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right, so that's the same numbers that we were asked for and received for the last 2 years. So right now, let me get my cheat sheet. We've spent $900 on advertising for this fiscal year. Remember, it continues till June 30th. We haven't spent anything on postage. We've used that professional service fees for a review of a legal matter. I spent the $12,000 on last year's sampling. Our dues and conferences, I think, was down a little bit. I don't have the receipt for how many went to the November conference at that Red Lion Inn, but I know there was at least 1, 2, 3 people that signed up. That was 55 each, so 190, plus our membership fees, so probably 400 on that, give or take. And then nothing on printing yet. Other supplies, I think we're up. It wasn't much to do this year because of COVID. I think we only spent 200 or so.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we have enough in there for the next year.
Yeah, we do, and we've been rather busy this year because when we get to the annual report, I mean, actually, even though the coronavirus has changed the way we do business, there has been a lot of activity and a lot of action by the commission. Again, thanking you again for continuing to participate.
Now, Mr. Chair, may I ask a
Go ahead.
question? So, I know we have some new folks on board here now, and they may not have been around when we've had some very complex issues where we've had to hire a third-party engineer, and sometimes those costs can be expensive, especially, we hire a third party to validate the data, whatever, that's provided to us by the applicant's engineer or wetland scientist or whatever. And that's really important. So I have no dispute with that. One of the things that caught me in both the annual report and in the budget is, I know we're doing the annual testing of those 3 waterways, and I've never asked for it, or I can't remember if I've asked for it recently, but any report or data to show that there's been any significant increase or decrease in water quality in any of those 3 waterways. Now, this gets to my next point about budgeting. So here, what I wanted to ask is should we take a look at this if in fact that over the 18 years, water quality is really not decreasing, if there's not a lot of activity in those areas, should we look at a biannual testing, which could effectively, I'm not sure how we budget for that each year if you're doing it biannually, but is it really necessary? This data is extremely important to us as we look at some of the applications that are near, Stony Brook, Jordan Brook, those sort of places. But do we need to continue with an annual? And Maureen, what? I know you do it, and you, I'm sure, have good reason for it. And of course, we always support you, but I'd sure like to just kind of throw that out on the table and talk about whether or not annual testing is continued to be required, or could biannual also serve the same purpose. What do you think?
Dave, by biennial, do you mean every other year?
I do, yes.
Okay, we sample twice a year. We begin in the spring and then in the fall. So,
okay.
And that's so you can see if there's any change, during one year. If you want to go to every other year, that's from the commission. I inherited this sampling. It was in place. We just expanded it as we studied every watersheds. We expanded the areas that were tested. So the monitoring helps, because if you need to provide for a certain project at a certain location on a certain brook, what the background elevations are for coliform or for nitrates, and that's really, we do all, and I do it for the commission. All that's monitored is coliform bacteria, nitrate, phosphorus. We do COD and chloride because of the proximity to the highways.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at trying to cut costs, you could knock off some of the parameters, I guess, if you don't want to monitor them anymore. Or that's why I provided you with the map. If you want to knock off some of the locations, the town has been very accommodating to the commission all this time to provide them with the money to continue the sampling. So it'll be up to you guys if you don't want to do it anymore, and I won't do it.
Well, I'm thinking it in either of those two documents. Neither of those two documents do we indicate whether there has been an increase, decrease, or status quo in water quality in either of those two timeframes, spring or fall. Which I can understand why we might test at both intervals. And I want to be able to, if asked, support our reasoning for annual for annual sampling, and especially if there's been no change over 18 years. But I don't know. What do the other members think?
Well, I'm going to get this before you will, Dave. I just think this is a kind of a bare bones budget. I don't see us being able to increase it at all because of the COVID-19 situation.
Sure.
I just, want to make sure that there's enough funds to continue what we're doing. And I think the sampling of those critical streams is important.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important as well. All I was asking was, is say every other year for spring and fall sampling going to give us the results that we need as opposed to every year? I mean, it saves $12,000 maybe, or not that I'm talking about trying to save money here, but in a way, I want to be able to defend it,
We haven't had an increase in the budget, anything significant in several years that I can recall. And other agencies tend to increase. I personally, if Maureen doesn't feel comfortable with doing it every other year, we should leave it as it is.
Yeah, Dave, I'm on the same boat. I think, we've always stayed this amount since I've been on the commission. And it really does, bottom line, it's not going to affect the town's budget because this is such a small percentage. And I think there's benefit to it.
Okay.
Because you never know when somebody's going to try to build something next to one of these important watersheds. And then we don't have anything, we'll have to go back and request, and that causes a lot of problems.
Well, honestly, I just think it's important for us to talk about these items, despite the fact that we have such a small budget, relatively speaking, that especially for some of the larger line items like that one, and in the whole scheme of things, sure, it's not a big line item, but for Conservation Commission, it is, that I thought we should just put that out on the table and talk about it and think about, what we're trying to accomplish. And should we be asked ever, if there are any savings that we have to, cut something, what would we cut? I don't know. All right. I'm done with that topic. I'm fine with the, I'm really fine with the report. I think it's another stellar report that Maureen's put together, and I greatly appreciate that. The only thing I would add, that I'd like to see somewhere is, it doesn't have to be in this report, but sometime before too long is a tally of how our water quality has changed, as a result of these 18 years of, running two samples
Does
a year.
Maureen give us a yearly report at the commission?
Maybe, man, if you,
What you find in the field, Maureen?
Remember, this is a long-term, you're only doing a grab sample twice a year. So it's not as simple, Dave, as saying, well, over 18 years, we'll take a running average, correct it for temperature variability, or whether it was wet season or dry season, which is what we try to do, at least is do that and pull that out. But what you're really looking for is a trend, right? So having nothing happen and having developed Chris Lamont, Waterford Commons, all the development, that's not a bad thing. It's proving that your protection measures, your riparian buffers, your stormwater management systems are working. I want to put your head in a different way. Like, we're not trying to catch people. We're trying to make sure that what we do with our permitting is keeping and maintaining the quality of our resource.
Oh, exactly.
I could put something together. I don't know if I can pull it off quickly. There's a lot of data, and do a running average for across the streets, but then And again, that's why I put the map in there. This is really a discussion on the annual report as well. I'm covering every watershed. I'm not gonna pick which watershed in town you don't want to monitor anymore. That'll be up to you. Or if you don't want to monitor certain parameters, we can knock them on. The lab has held the prices for the last 3 years. They come and they come pick up the samples. It's great. The cost savings right now is your staff is doing the collection. If we had a base one to do it, that would change significantly.
And also, I think this year we've approved several projects with the gas station renovations and the cement project. They're very adjacent to our critical water sources, water courses. I think for this year, at least, I think we should keep it the same.
Yeah. So
Because we have at least 3 projects that could affect our watersheds that we approved this year.
Oh, I heard someone else wanted to get in on the conversation.
So I would try to accommodate you, Dave, as best I can, probably with some select spots. There's a lot of data to crunch out in 2 weeks.
Oh, hey, not looking for something in 2 weeks or whatever, but I think that especially if we're collecting the data, that we should probably look at the data in a way that we as laymen and not scientists like yourself, could understand it. And 18 years should give us some type of trend. 3 years, sure, that's too short of a period of time. 5 years might be short period of time. 10 years is a good time to collect reasonable data, especially if we have some development that is, like the malls or whatever. Especially if we're going to try approve this monitoring, we should probably show that we are in fact looking at the data as a body and not just relying on our staff to do this, I think. So anyway, I just throw that out for consideration. How you put all those numbers together, I don't know. I'm sorry, Julie, go ahead.
If we were done on that general topic, I just, I think it was the last page that was to be updated, the budgeted versus actual, or the actuals for the prior years. I think that would be real helpful in support of keeping this budget the same. And just a comment on, I think up at the top, your description of, I think your annual report says that we considered 20 projects, and I think you said here 19. We approved 19, but we reviewed 20. Maybe there's just some wording in there so that the 2 documents are in alignment.
Yeah, one was withdrawn. There was that subdivision down on by the Mitchell College.
Right.
Yep, I'll add that.
Maureen, when is this due to the first selectman's office?
I think you can finalize your approval at your November 9th meeting.
What's the pleasure of the commission? Do we approve this tonight or at the next meeting?
Mr. Chair, Mike, after you, Julie.
Well, I was just going to suggest if Maureen could add a statement about what the data, I think your supporting information is super, Maureen. So under that one line item, you might describe what this data will, what a report might look like in the future, that it's in progress or something. And so some reference to the analysis of the data. Go ahead, Tally.
No,
Mike, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, from a standpoint of the strategy of ensuring that we have enough money to do the monitoring if we continue to want to do it each year, choosing to try to self-cut our budget down to go to every other year is not necessarily the wisest strategy. Now, from my experience in water quality monitoring, I mean, sampling twice a year, every year seems like it's a good idea. So that way we can continue to ensure that nothing changes. Because if you go to every other year, there's a significant amount of time that can go between incidences of monitoring. You know, just going from March 2018 to March 2020 is a huge amount of time. We would have reviewed 35 to 40 projects in that time period. That's a lot to really try to say that there's nothing that could have happened. We want to catch those as soon as possible. So to me, I'm feeling like we're definitely in the being smart about doing this every year. But I think that even if we ultimately choose not to do this every year, asking to have our budget cut such that we can't do it every year by reducing our budget when we've been holding constant on our budget despite inflation increases seems unwise. You know, we've been keeping this budget constant despite the, you know, standard 2.5% increase that other departments need in order to maintain whatever they've been doing. So we clearly have a lot of padding in here that enables us to do what we need. I say we just submit the budget. We request the same that we otherwise have been, and it should be sufficient for what we need.
Are you willing to make a motion to that?
Yeah, sure. I'll make a motion to that. I would like to move that what's needed here? Do we need to approve the request?
You can approve the draft budget with discussions, with the additions as discussed. And
Certainly, I'd like to make the motion to approve the draft budget with the additions about the water quality recording as discussed. So make everybody happy.
Do I have a second?
With what one, I'll second it, but with an addition to Michael's, to finalize that last page. It
Yeah,
says,
that will be done. That's required.
all right. I second it in that case.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Now we'll go on to the next item. The review of the annual report. Maureen?
Well, Dave kind of jumped into it. The annual report goes with the budget. Kind of changed the format a little bit from what you've seen before. Katrina's scrolling to it now. But basically, this explains who the commission is and what they've done this year. So I guess, Julie, you want me to, I'll just say 19 applications and get rid of the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, why beg? Yeah, okay, I get it. This is just a summary of the permits. It's really quite, if you think about them, especially looking down the number of commercial developments, the commission had a lot of work to do the end of this year. There's a summary of, with all the permits issued, there was an authorized disturbance of 0.43 acres of wetland. And 0.4 of that was temporary disturbance, you know, for an extension of a footing drain, to maintain and manage invasive species and wetlands. So those were all restored. So it was pretty good. The loss is 0.03 acres of permanent fill. Then the discussion of the stream water quality monitoring. Again, as your staff, I strongly request that you consider supporting this task. It's the only way for the commission to have data to refute or at least enter into discussions and request further data from applicants that may be looking at a large project next to one of our trout streams. So it's very helpful to have. And just twice a year is not really that rigorous a monitoring program. So again, when we get down to it and look at the map I provided you, if you're concerned that that number might be cut, maybe we stop monitoring Hunts Brook, or we can stop monitoring Lake Brandegie, Alewife Cove. You know, like these are discussions to have now. or carry over to next meeting. Again, if we're challenged and we have to cut it, then that's what staff will do. I will stop monitoring the water that comes out of, maybe a couple of these spots because we don't have any real development going on in there. These were spread out like this because I have Nevins Brook in my backyard. How come you're only monitoring Jordan's Brook when Nevins Brook provides a whole lot of water, that Oil Mill Brook came in very handy when we were reviewing the proposed solar facility on that 95 acres just above the brook. Stony Brook, we monitor in accordance with our Stony Brook Watershed Management Plan. So, I mean, I do believe there's backup for all the reasons these points were selected, particularly for the money that was spent on the Jordan Brook Watershed Management Plan and the money that was spent on the Stony Brook Watershed Management Plan. So we usually, the commission, the chair will usually sit with me and your staff, and we always address this line item with the Board of Finance and with the RTM. And no one's asked us to cut it yet.
No, yeah. Rich can attest to that. I can attest to that.
So I did add in that although we've been a little lax on it because it's wicked hard to do virtually, the open space evaluation matrix under conservation task. I don't have to put that in there if you're not comfortable with it, but I think it's important to show that we still have your other hat on as well. Are you okay with that?
Julie, I have a question here. I do like that to be, in my opinion, I like that to be in there, Maureen. But I'd like to maybe include the words, something to the effect of, after soliciting best practices from Waterford's neighboring municipalities, the commission is developing to me, it's important that we're not operating in our little bubble that we've been, looking at best practices outside of our own little borders. So that would be one comment if it's agreeable to the others. And then just a second thing, was something kind of in my mind missing again, and it's about how we work together. And it might, in your mind, be already included in in the discussion about the Niantic River, but we did work jointly with the Niantic River Watershed Group, at least one meeting I know that we were involved in, so that might be worth mentioning.
The Conservation Commission met with the Niantic River Watershed Committee?
I think there was a meeting that you sent some notes to. I attended it. Ooh, it was way early in the year, or even.
Oh, for the rewrite of their, yeah, I'm gonna try to keep that out of the annual report.
Okay.
Right now, that hasn't been finalized, and I'm not sure yet if it's gonna be referred to the commission for review. I did refer the draft to you guys, or at least gave you the link to it, but I never remember submitting comments on behalf of the Conservation Commission to that consulting firm. So
okay.
you may have attended it to participate in it, but I'm just.
Yeah, okay.
I guess it'll be up to the rest of the commission.
But I think the first point that Julie made, I think that should be included in the open space evaluation matrix.
I'm gonna put soliciting examples rather than best practices, if you're okay with that. I think our practice is gonna be best.
Of course.
Yeah, there you go.
Any other comments from anybody? Somebody.
This is Jessica. One question I do have from a.
Okay, Jessica.
Oh, hi. Sorry. So one question I do have, I'm just wondering from a community outreach and education perspective, historically, kind of what does the commission do with this annual report information? And is there any way that we could kind of tie this into a no cost, high value add event, such as say a cleanup day or like a cleanup activity or something like that, just to kind of educate the community on, hey, here's all of the things that the commission's done so far. and just kind of bring awareness to kind of what it is that the group does collectively, and some of the impacts that we are having on kind of the day-to-day of Waterford, but also to Julie's point, like on the partnerships and relationships that we might have outside of the boundaries of the town. I'm just curious.
I guess I'll take that, but the annual report is a public document, but the annual report right now in this kind of phase, Jessica, is really is the backup for the commission's requested budget. I think it's great to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the education and outreach, things like that, is something entirely that the commission can work on and, you know, and be able to put in your next annual report, especially if we need some more funds to sponsor it. But yeah, there isn't a lot of, we don't have a lot of fanfare. You know, you guys just show up and put your nose to the grindstone. So last year we did the butterfly garden, the pollinator garden at the library. This year, you know, not a lot happened after March 12th. So, you know, in terms of community outreach. So I think it would be nice to start picking up some projects. And I think your experience and what you do over at your daytime job would be really, really beneficial to the commission.
Well, I would certainly love to help out if that's something that the commission would be interested in. We could take it offline, or I'm not really sure how it works or the formality of this individual meeting, but certainly if it's an option, I would love to chat more about it.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank you.
I think Geneva started our first one since I've been on the commission, the butterfly garden, and she worked down in it with Maureen. They came to, you know, they had an end result. So I think it's something we should do. But this is, you know, a silly time with this COVID-19 restrictions. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think those kind of things almost have to be put on pause until we get over this.
There's still education
one
and
other question.
stuff you can do. I think that we could put that on, that will be under something you can easily discuss under conservation business on the next agenda.
Okay. Any other further comments?
Tali, if I may, the last item in the report, commission members, that's as of what date? Because I know Wade is now a permanent member, right?
June
Yeah.
30th.
This is as of June 30th?
Oh,
This is the fiscal year 1920.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jessica, Ivy, they're not even here yet. Henry was on and he resigned in November, and Josh resigned in January. I know it looks funny. That's just, and it doesn't match what's going to be on the other thing, but you know, this is the.
gotcha.
This is
I don't know. It's not. This isn't something I put together. It's what the town requires.
Okay.
Just a quick thing since we're hovering it. My name is spelled A-E-L, not E-A-L.
oh, good catch.
Just a quick thing. That happens a little bit. So
It won't ever happen again, Mike.
thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept this.
I move to accept the annual report, or the annual report
As revised.
as revised.
Entertain a second.
I'll second that, Geneva.
Geneva seconds it. Further discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business is correspondence. Report of Commission Action C-20-15. Maureen?
This is just for the commission's review before I submit it to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Have they already started their public hearing?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
So this basically is required under state statute that anytime the Conservation Commission is referred and makes action on a plan that's under review by the Planning and Zoning Commission, like subdivisions, and you take an action, you have to report that action to them under state statute. They have to wait to get your report. They don't have to agree or act on your recommendations. So this is your opportunity to not just say what you did under the Inland Wetlands Agency responsibility, but also as the Conservation Commission, if there's any other recommendations that you have. I think all I did on this is I took the factors for consideration that the commission approved on the in the permit and just itemized them for the Planning and Zoning Commission review. The permit itself is attached to this.
Anybody see anything that needs to be corrected
Or anything you want to add?
or anything you want to? Seeing that there are mice in the room, I'll entertain a motion to accept this to forward it to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Moved by Dave Birch. Need a second.
I'll second.
Second by Michael Stankoff. Further discussion? Seeing that there is none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Ally, can I ask, can you verify if Mr. Muckle's still on board?
Rich, are you on board? Rich?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's here.
All right, so was it unanimous? Okay, thank you.
Yes. Then the next thing is the ECC bulletin summary. I have a question, Maureen. That solar farm, how is that going? I know they had a public hearing and all that.
The hearing is the solar field on Oil Mill Road.
Yeah.
I listened to their deliberations this afternoon, actually. They had drafted findings of fact, and they took a straw poll, and the straw poll came out 3-4, 1 against. So they'll be finalizing their decision and their, I don't know when it's going to come out, but it sounds to me like they're going to approve it.
It sounds like they're going to approve it.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
You can go to the it's kind of convoluted, but you can go to the Connecticut Siding Council website, and then you go to pending matters,
Okay.
and then you'll look up this site is this number is 1347A, and or I can send you the link to it. How about that?
Okay, I was just curious because in another meeting a couple weeks ago, I know a group in town was sending a legal brief to the council. Are there any other items that commission members would like to discuss? Are there any bills to be paid?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Dave,
Second.
second by Julie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good night and thank you for coming.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Joe.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Hi, everyone.